Entering the Mayo experience.
That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass podcast. This for UFC Vegas 5. Paul Shaughnessy here in studio with my main man, Cody Saftic, coming off of a pretty good week, I would say.
Yeah. I like those 15 fight slates, man.
That was
I mean,
awesome.
they were just rolling in fight after fight. And again, you got to pick and choose a little bit of what you wanted. Didn't have to force any spots. And it was mostly Chalk City, but on the plus side, we were kind of rolling with mostly Chalk City on the show last week. So this card looks a little Chalk City too. Hopefully we can find a couple underdogs and a couple decent value prop plays.
Lots of big winners and stuff, but that's Pat's gimmick, right? Well, not gimmick, but that's Pat's thing.
I don't even like that stuff personally.
I'm terrible.
Win in silence.
Yeah, I had a couple, like I had one person ask for a win. I just wanted to give a congratulations to another person. But yeah, I don't usually read all this stuff. I'll stumble on it if I have to read. So we got big parlay to our boy Tharusha Guntalake. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Oh, that was a tough one. That was a tough name to pronounce.
He's a regular in Pat's Wednesday golf preview show. He kind of gave, like a lot of people, MMA a chance and gave our show a chance at the beginning of all of this. And he had a parlay. I think it was like your 5-legger plus Verdum on it. And
bam, that's a difference
boom.
maker. Big difference maker. It already paid like 5.5 to 1.
And
so,
then
with Verdum.
fan of the show, he watches other stuff. I'm not saying that like we have everything to do with it. There's Brett and there's Marley and there's Dan Levy and all those guys that have good shows and stuff like that as well. DFS wins Knockout King this season. So congratulations to you.
Yeah, man.
Enjoy that like $50K. Plus he won the big boy not that long ago as well. DFS wins, has been DFS winning. Let's get right into the action, though. We have Edmund Shahbazyan taking on Derek Brunson. Edmund Shahbazyan, a minus 310 favorite. Derek Brunson can be had for plus 255. Take it away, Cody Saftic.
Yeah, so obviously I like Edmund Shahbazyan here. And minus 310, he's a bit of a steep price tag to be paying for a 22-year-old kid who's so green in his UFC career. But watching tape on it just seems super warranted. I mean, he's coming into his own. When you look back at fights like the Darren Stewart fight, for example, and you talk about, oh man, maybe his cardio looked a little bit off. Maybe he wasn't super confident. He's 20 years old at the time. He's like the second youngest guy on the roster. It's a miracle that he's even fighting in the UFC, let alone taking on a top 25-ish guy like Darren Stewart, who's posed some problems for some decent guys in the past. And that's the biggest takeaway I have is that you got to get those rounds in. You got to get tested. You don't just become an NFL lineman. You're a great NFL lineman in college. You go to the NFL all of a sudden, and after your first game of the season, you're tired. It's late in the fourth quarter, and you're tired. Oh, well, why is this guy tired? He was such a good college athlete. Oh, he played so tough through college. It's like, oh, man, it's a different pace. It's a different game now. And then all of a sudden, game 2, game 3, game 4, this guy's an awesome lineman. Took him a little bit to get adjusted. That's what I look at with Shahbazyan. Just took him a little bit while to get adjusted. He had never been outside of the first round. Hell, he never gets out of the first minute or two. So for him to at least go 15 minutes, and when he is tired, to revert to his grappling, show some decent ring IQ, that's a good takeaway from that fight. Beyond that, he knocks out Brad Tavares. You see how his hands are sharp. His kicks are obviously sharp. He has a lot of power. He's growing into his frame. I think there's a lot to like about this kid. Now, this is a UFC main event, and despite it not being a title fight, the obvious assumption is going to be a 5-round fight. This is actually a 3-round fight. I mentioned yesterday on Noz.com, oh, you know what, my greasy theory here would be, just like Magomed Sharapov, maybe he can't really fight 5 rounds, but we like him, we want to protect him, he's a prospect. Why bother giving him a 5-round fight so early in his career? He's a little
Especially
bit older,
like it was
obviously.
Holm and Aldana were supposed to be the main event of this card. So
Yeah, they're both getting ready for a fight.
You can't tell somebody they've been training for a 3-round fight like a week in advance, like, hey, you've never been in one before. Now it's time. You don't need to do those extra 2 rounds. They weren't booked for it. Their contract doesn't say it says 3 rounds.
You know what? That's fine. And as much as I would complain about it on a personal level, then why not make Joanne Calderwood versus Jennifer Maia a 5-round fight, considering Calderwood was just supposed to fight Shevchenko. Shevchenko got injured and pulled out. This is a number 1 contender fight. Listen, she's not going to beat Shevchenko. I'm saying she was supposed to fight Shevchenko.
Don't make me say it, Cody.
Give me 5 rounds of that. I'd take it. That'd be a good fight. Okay. And Vicente Luque versus Randy Brown. Vicente Luque in a 5-rounder. Could you even imagine that? Just considering how train wrecked his 3-rounders are. Anyways, they didn't have to make Shahbazyan versus Brunson the main event, but they decided to. They like Shahbazyan. They can promote him here. Brunson apparently was the one. Shout out to Gabe Killian. Brunson's the one that turned it down and was like, I don't want to fight 5 rounds. I want to fight 3. Shahbazyan was like, cool, I'll fight 5.
Okay.
And honestly, you look back at Brunson's body of work, and you know when he was bum rushing guys, and he was getting the KO. Then he was bum rushing the guys, didn't get the KO, got KO'd. Then he tried to change up his styles, like maybe I'll just wrestle a little bit. He's 36 years old. He needs to get this fight to the ground ASAP. And I just don't know that that's going to be enough. Even in a 3-round fight, 15 minutes, Shahbazyan's going to have opportunities to strike with him. And Brunson, one thing, it's amazing how in 2011 he'll get knocked out by Jacare, and everybody says, Derek, you got to keep your chin down. You can't just rush in there with your chin down. Now he's 36 years old. It's 10 years later. I don't know why. He does the exact same thing.
Inflatable arms guy just kind of runs forward. That Robert Whittaker fight was just like, oh,
unbelievable.
Dear. It's just like, this is not going to work, and it's going to end very poorly.
He packs a lot of power. You know, he's broken some good chins like Ed Herman in the past. He knocked out Uriah Hall. He actually was putting some heat on Robert Whittaker before Whittaker just took the punches and delivered some of his back. But that's his problem. His striking defense is really bad. So his last fight against Ian Heinisch, it's like, okay, he shorted up. He's going to use his wrestling here. Literally 15 seconds into that fight, he gets kicked in the head by Ian Heinisch, and he is hurt. And he just grapples up with Heinisch and eventually, you know, slows down the pace, gets the fight to where he wants it, and pulls through. Against Shahbazyan, I think that those exact same opportunities will present themselves, only he's not Ian Heinisch. He's twice as sharp, twice as accurate, and he packs more power. And I think he will find the target and he will knock out Brunson. Maybe not happen in the first round, but within, I'm not an under 1.5 kind of guy unless it's like a Paul Craig type fight versus Gazmurad Antigulov. But in this case, it's like it does have the writing on the wall that he could just take him out in the first round. This could be, I'm not saying he's Israel Adesanya. He's not. But a young Israel Adesanya is just an accurate, sharp striker, maybe lacks a little bit of power. And then with Brunson, it was just like, feasting
Edmund's
on...
got a decent grappling game, too. I don't know if he's going to be able to use it against Brunson, who's a savvy veteran and has been around for years. And, you know, he took down Yoel Romero, so I don't think that's going to be an advantage for Edmund.
He took down Yoel Romero 5 years ago, right?
Course.
So I think there's levels to that. And you're right, Shahbazyan can wrestle, he can grapple. He's a kid prodigy. He makes me feel old. He's born in 1997. He is a kid prodigy. He's, you know, kids grow up playing hockey. Kids grow up playing baseball. They go on, they're these fantastic players. MMA didn't exist. So there's very few kids that grew up doing MMA. They grew up wrestling. They grew up doing karate. They grew up, you know, doing kickboxing, whatever it may have been, Muay Thai, whatever. This kid grew up doing it all, man. And as a result, he's extremely well-rounded. But he's 22 years old in a main event, not a 5-rounder, but still a main event of a UFC card. And to this point, outside of Brad Tavares, he's largely fought low-level competition. But knocking out Brad Tavares is no easy task. Brad Tavares can take it twice as hard as Brunson, better chin, you know, better striking defense. And in that fight, Shahbazyan doesn't rush anything. He just lets it happen. And he knocks out a credible guy like Tavares. Here, it'll be the same thing. He'll just let it happen. Because A, Brunson's going to bum rush him, because that's one part of his style, and he's going to get KO'd. Or B, Brunson doesn't bum rush him, and he hangs back. And that's even worse. Because then this kid's just going to pick you off at distance, right? So I got Shahbazyan. 310's a bad price tag. If you take him inside the distance, I don't know what TKO, it's not out yet. I would say knockout over submission, obviously. But just inside the distance is minus 160. Again, that's not a terrible way to go. 5 rounds, you'd have him inside the distance all day. But even in a 3-round fight, I just feel like he's going to find the target at some point.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much all the statements that you just said. I actually parlayed him with somebody a little bit further down the card. Not too far down the card. When he was at minus 275 the other day. Let's move on. We've got Joanne Calderwood taking on Jennifer Maia. Calderwood, minus 150 favorite. Maia can be had for plus 130. Cody Saftic's trying to make this the main event of the card. So he wants 5 rounds. He wants more rounds. He probably wants a rematch. From what I heard from him. So why don't you tell us who you like in this one?
Well, as far as giving the fans an entertaining fight, you should get a striker versus striker matchup. You have the slower, plodding, but terrorizing Jennifer Maia, who's got that classic Curitiba shoot-to-box style. She sits down on her punches. She sits down on her kicks. She's a little bit lumbering, but she's aggressive. She'll just crash that pocket on you and give you a dirty fight. On the other hand, you have, and I know we always joke about this, don't mean shit, but you have European Muay Thai champion Joanne Calderwood, and her striking is legitimately good. She's getting a little bit older, 34. I think best case for her was get the Shevchenko fight now, because it's not going to go well, but it ain't going to go any better at 35 or 36 years old. Like you might as well do it now where you are fighting at your optimal performance level. But c'est la vie, the fight gets scrapped, and now she really needs to win this Jennifer Maia fight just to ensure that she does get that title fight. But you should have striker versus striker. Joanne Calderwood, routinely fighting 3-round fights, scores well over 100 significant strikes. So she's a nice volume puncher versus Jennifer Maia, who will probably get doubled up on the striking count, but is a lot stronger and more physical than Joanne Calderwood. It's a fun fight, and it's the kind of fight that could be close after 3. So that extra 2 rounds would really give you a good idea of who's able to go those championship rounds
to
if
give
they go there.
Valentina a bigger challenge. I don't think either one of them is. Both of them will probably be plus 500 and up underdogs when they take on Val.
Anybody in the division would be of that number. And if you're Joanne Calderwood, your losses are Caitlin Chukagian, Liz Carmouche. Like, essentially, it's just all girls that... Sorry, that's Jennifer Maia's lost to Caitlin Chukagian, Liz Carmouche. Joanne Calderwood also obviously lost to Caitlin Chukagian, Cynthia Calvillo, and then Jessica Andrade. These are all former title challengers or top contenders, right? So they're all fighting the best of the best. That best of the best that has defeated them has gone on to lose. So yeah, it's a tough sell to now say one of them, who are basically just the leftovers, is going to fight. But I've been impressed with Calderwood, and you got to just look at the timeline of her career, right? Remember, she comes over from Scotland. Her boyfriend was her head coach. She was in a bad mental space. You could see that there was some talent there, but she never could make it click. Then she leaves there. She ended up in TriStar. They gave her some good game planning. She wasn't fighting aggressive like she used to. Her ground game improved, but she never made it click. Then she went to Extreme Couture in Las Vegas. And man, since then, or since she's been in Las Vegas, she's basically just been like a completely different fighter. Ground game has improved, but also she's just got a lot more confidence. How I see this fight playing out, it comes down to the kicks. So Joanne Calderwood has a very good kick game. She'll side kick, she'll leg kick, she'll teep kick. She keeps you at distance with that kicking game. That's going to be key here because a lot of her volume comes from the kicks, and it seems to me like Jennifer Maia struggles, especially with the range and the kicking. So Jennifer Maia is giving up 2 inches in height to Joanne Calderwood. She's also giving up a little bit in the reach department, but it's that because she has that shoot to box style, she weaves side to side and tries to come more or less on a forward line. She'll be there to get kicked. Now you watch Jennifer Maia versus what's her name? Canadian fighter, you'll know the Strikeforce, Alexis Davis. You watch her versus Alexis Davis. In the first round, all day, she's just a better striker than Davis. She's more physical than Davis. She's younger. She's more spry. She's got all the advantages in that first round over Alexis Davis. In the second round, Alexis Davis is able to manages to take her down. And once Jennifer Maia is on her back, she literally presents nothing. She's got nothing off her back. Now, the third round, Davis's corner tells her, listen, you got to go out there. You got to win this third round. Alexis Davis, I don't know why, doesn't want to get the fight back to the ground. She basically is just okay with conceding these strike exchanges and says, you know what, I'll strike with her. Even striking with Maia in that third round, even in giving her the advantage in that third round, she still lands more significant strikes. She still outstrikes her. She still gives her a good round, largely based on the distance and the kick. So I think Calderwood does the exact same thing. I see it go in the distance, but I think Calderwood either just outstrikes her at distance with more or sneaky. Calderwood's been going for takedowns in her last 2 fights, securing takedowns. She was able to take down Caitlin Chukagian 3 times. I see a where she takes her down and secures the round. So I'm gonna have to go with Calderwood by decision.
Apologies for all the blinking that's going on. Technical issues, man. Why don't we move on? We've got Vicente Luque taking on Randy Brown. Vicente Luque minus 175 favorite. Brown can be had for plus 155. Vicente Luque's been kind of like an ATM for me. The guy's just kind of super sharp everywhere. He's younger than people expect. He's been around for a while. He fights.
Taking an astronomical amount of damage.
He's taking a lot of damage. He's always in wars, obviously, but he's only 28 years old still at this point, which I was kind of surprised. I think maybe it's just me, but I think that the mentality is from Contender Series. Randy Brown is the prospect here. He's 30. Randy Brown's got obviously a little bit of reach advantage, 2.5 inches. He's 4 inches taller, but the reach is actually 70.
Luque got a long reach on him,
Yeah, 78 to 76. I just don't see enough power from Randy Brown to cause any sort of major issues from Luque moving forward, and he's going to eat some shots. He always does. But I think just on volume alone, and if we get this fight to the mat, that is the preferred route that we go. I think there's levels to this game, and Luque should be able to exploit Brown there, who has decent submissions and a decent ground game himself. But I like Luque. He's been good to me over the years. He goes out there and he fights for your money. If it was somebody with a little bit more power than Brown, I would be a lot more concerned. But Vicente Luque is the guy I parlayed with Shahbazyan It was slightly over plus money when I got it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mentioned with Vicente Luque. I mean, I think he's had 14 fights in the UFC, 13-1 on Vicente Luque fights. I picked him over Leon Edwards once upon a time, and that was literally the only time he lost or let me down. I was thankful to get the other losses. But yeah, no, he's been pretty steady. He's been pretty consistent. He fights lower level guys. He looks good. He blows right through them. He fights mid-level guys. He kind of gives them the fight that the only way they can win is if they catch him with something, and he allows them to do that. I mean, Brian Barberena, Mike Perry especially, he has massive advantages. He's a lot sharper. He's a lot more technical, but he doesn't mind just standing in the pocket. Then you look at the majority of his fights. He stands right in the pocket. Nico Price, stand right in the pocket. All these guys, he makes them stand in the pocket. Randy Brown's path to victory here is that, yeah, he is 6'3". He does have a 2-inch reach advantage. He needs to be able to stay away from him. Do not engage this guy. But that's easier said than done when Vicente Luque is coming at you. He does got a great chin. Have we seen him hurt? Yeah. Have we seen him wobbled? Yeah. Have we seen him knocked out? Nah. He takes the punches, right? He takes them well. His own firepower. I mean, this guy is cooking with TNT, baby. Not only do you look at his recent history and, these sharp KOs, like, he knocked out Thiago Santos once upon a time on the Brazilian regional. Like,
He deaded Bilal Muhammad.
who's just got a cast iron chin and is very durable, by the way. So yeah, it's like, man, this guy, he's sharp, he's technical, he's accurate. But the key for him here, I think, is going to be the leg kick game. Because Randy Brown being tall, being mobile, that leg is right there to be kicked. And you look at, say, his fight with Brian Barberena. In the first round, Brian Barberena has no success other than some leg kicks. And that allows Brown just to grow in confidence. Like, oh, this guy can't hurt me. He can't get to me. And you just see Brian Barberena just deflate. Like, he just knows, like, oh no, I can't get to him. But the leg kicks they're adding up. They're actually not too bad. I think Vicente Luque goes to the same game, hurt this guy to the leg to slow him down. Now that he's not as mobile, he'll have to fight you in the pocket. When you fight a guy that's that much taller than you in the pocket, his counters, his reaction time, they're not as quick, right? Just because you're not as sharp. You're the taller guy. You want to stay at range. You want to use that reach. So Luque, just like Luque always do, will probably have a close, competitive, dicey first round. But I think after that, the damage should start to pile up, and he should be able to pull away with it in those later rounds. And then, yeah, I mean, I envision a world where he hurts Brown. Brown eventually gets desperate, maybe shoots a desperation takedown. Luque's got a decent anaconda choke. He's got a decent submission game. Maybe he wraps one up. But Brown, A, just got awarded his black belt, and B, is coming off a submission win over Warley Alves. And that's a feather in your cap, right? Warley just like a stuffed pig in the heat.
Yeah,
baby.
Worley gets tired
But he
and
did
looks
submit
for
him.
the door.
Yeah, of course.
Vicente
But he
does
did
not do that, I'll tell you that much.
No. Vicente Luque could be down 2 rounds. Like,
And he's coming for murder.
Right. A lot of people thought Brian Barberena was beating him. I don't see it, but very close fight. And then in the third round, he knocks him out. He does what he's got to do. The Perry fight, a lot of people scored it against him. But it's like in the third round, he's going for it, man. Like you said, he fights for your dollar. So you're looking at a minus 175 price tag, and that doesn't even seem bad at all. But, and I know that this is the kind of the consensus out there, is that even though he's only 28, you can't take that much damage. At some point,
of course,
somebody's going to chin check this guy, and it won't go good. However, Mike Perry hits a lot harder than Randy Brown. I know Brown's making improvements, but it's going to take somebody with some decent pow in his hands to be able to be the first guy to crack it. So I'm going to have to go with Vicente Luque. I think Brown's tough enough to maybe hang around. And I noticed that Vicente Luque by decision is like plus 265. But the buyer beware there is Vicente Luque doesn't fight like a guy that's planning on going 15 minutes. The whole time you're watching the fight, you're going to be like, oh no.
Maybe he gets to the ground and gets a real fast sub too. Like, I think that's in the cards. Yeah, I know Randy Brown, you just said, as you just said, just got his black belt, but
175 is pretty fair straight up. You don't have to go chasing maybe that extra submission, TKO, decision. It's not a bad price as it is.
Yeah, I like Vicente a lot. I've got him locked into a couple parlays this week already. And I'll end up liking him quite a bit on DraftKings, as you kind of like Vicente Luque every week or every fight, unless he's taking on one of the elites on DraftKings. Let's move on to the next fight, though. We have Lando Vannata taking on Bobby Green. Lando Vannata, minus 150 favorite. Bobby Green, plus 130. I believe this is a rematch from UFC 206, where the two men fought to a draw. Here's what happens with Bobby Green fights. He'll stand there, not really do all that much, And then when you do hit him, he'll go, nah, that didn't hurt me. But like the judge saw that you got hit, Bobby. He didn't do that as much in his last time out, but
Clay was on his ass. He wasn't giving him a whole lot of opportunities.
that is very, very true. I mean, Bobby Green. It is dog or pass. Like, it's going to be a pass for me. These guys fought to a draw. And it's just not wide enough for me to take a shot at Bobby Green. I think it's going to be an incredibly close fight. When we go to the scorecards, either guy can win. Same way as before. Is a draw still in the cards? Probably. We saw the fight. I don't think either guy is really taking a massive step up in either sort of direction. I think they're around the same. It's dog or pass, so I guess it would be Bobby Green at plus 130 is where I would go with this if I had to, but I'm probably just staying away.
Yeah, I got Bobby Green on this fight, but I too am staying away because this fight's going to end up costing me money. I have a hatred for Lando Vannata that's going to make me blind.
What do you hate about Lando?
Man,
used to be your guy, Groovy Lando. You went
there
on
was
and
there
on.
was a time. And then again, once I found out he was just a rinky-dink bullshit fighter, he fights one round. And it is one hell of a round, baby. This guy's dynamic. He wrestled collegiately for half a semester, keep in mind. But the guy that can wrestle, he's young, he's got good footwork. He throws some spinning back kicks. Then win over John McDessie. It's crazy. The fight, taking a fight on short notice versus Tony Ferguson, almost KOing him twice in the first round. Crazy. This guy's building up. Going into the Bobby Green fight, I like him. Now, keep in mind it's a draw, but this is how it becomes a draw. So the first round, Lando Vannata beats the shit out of Bobby Green. He drops him with a clean left. Bobby Green goes down. He swarms him. He's pounding him. It would otherwise be a 10-8 round, I would think. And he lands an illegal knee. So he loses a point in the first round. The second round's close, and I thought Bobby was working his way back into it very nice, but it is close. You could score it either way. But let's just give it to Bobby because, damn, dude, you came back from that first round. That was cool. I'll give you that second round. Then the third round is Bobby Green. So 2 rounds to 1. The point deduction creates a draw. A lot of people disagree with that because Lando beat him so bad in the first round. But
pride rules, it's like, well, Lando beat him up so bad that, Lando gets the nod and just judging a fight.
Sure, but pride rules as well. It'd be like, you beat him for the first 5 minutes and then he was putting to you by the end. So who won the fight? Bobby Green won the fight. By the end of it, Bobby's going dancing and he's got his hands up and Lando's gotten figured out. And that's when I started, it wasn't hatred at the time. That's when it was just like, so Lando's got 1 round. He needs to give you 1 round. And then he loses to Drakkar Klose, where he's the favorite, and he does nothing in the fight. But then the Matt Frivola fight, it's literally the same thing.
Yeah.
In the first round, he puts it on him. He 10-8s him in the first round. And then rounds 2 and 3, he gets figured out. Frivola beats this guy. I don't want to talk about the Marcus Mariano fight. Remember Anderson's buddy that
was just free money submission first round. Like
that was
Mariano
I don't even
understand. Yeah, it was ridiculous that he even got a contract.
Right. And then he again drops as a plus, or he loses a fight to Mark Diakese. So at this point he's failed to live up to his expectation. I don't have hatred for the guy. And that's always a strong word. I obviously don't hate him. What I'm saying is at this point by the Diakese fight, he's not that good. He's a 1-round fighter. His power, it's either he catches you not looking like Ferguson or McDessie. Outside of that, once you get hit a couple times from him, the power doesn't translate. The wrestling, once he takes you down, he can't hold you down. Once he gets a first couple early takedowns, he never gets later in the fight takedowns. It's all a problem. Then he gets the Yancy Medeiros fight. I decide I'm going to fade him. I'm going to take Yancy Medeiros. Yancy Medeiros is going to take his best shot, stand there. And he literally ran away the entire time. But he fought what is a brilliant Elias Theodorou type game plan, which is just dink-dank you a few times with a kick and a jab, and then just leave, run away. And you know what? Yancy Medeiros is tall and lanky. He was not fast enough to catch Lando, 5'9", in and out of the pocket so fast. It was a terrible fight, and it really showed me Lando's not there to fight no more, right? Maybe he takes Bobby Green out of the first round like the last fight. He lands a quick shot, that's it. If this thing gets out of the first round, man, he gets figured out quick. And the one thing with Bobby Green, even though he's 33 now, and you made a good point, none of these guys has really taken a big step up since the fight. Bobby Green's getting robbed, man. He beat Drakkar Klose, outstruck him, and got the short end of a decision, which I thought he won. And then he did the exact same thing against Francisco Trinaldo. He took down Francisco Trinaldo, he outstruck Francisco Trinaldo, and he should have won the decision. But again, they screw him on it. And then he gets back in the win column with the fight over Clay Guida. So basically, he's always in close fights. The first fight was a close fight. This one will probably be a close fight. Why would you not take the underdog? Plus 130, it's dog or pass.
Yeah.
But I might be blind because I would never bet Lando Vannata.
You hate Lando, clearly.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. He rubs me the wrong way. There's something about... Elias is the same way. On a personal level, you know Elias the same way, right? On a personal level, good dude. But like I ain't watching that shit, man. Lando was an all-action fighter. And then just like the Cesar Ferrers of the world, once they decided they didn't really want to get hit all that much anymore, they just switched off. That's called winning, and winning's cool. But I want guys that are going to go in there and scrap and build the fan base of what MMA is. And Bobby Green, for as much of a clown as he can be when he's in there, man, I like the shoulder roll. I like his counter punching. His ground game's improving exceptionally. I think Bobby Green might be able to pull this one off. But the smart play is probably just pass clean.
All right, we got Kevin Holland taking on Trevin Giles. Kevin Holland, minus 210 favorite. Trevin Giles can be had for plus 175. I mean, Kevin Holland's last fight, he kind of fought exactly how you want him to fight, but it was only 39 seconds.
Yeah.
He used his reach. Hernandez was at the end of his punches, did everything perfectly. You're just like, this is what this guy should be doing. He shouldn't be chasing these takedowns. He shouldn't be tiring himself out by grappling because he doesn't seem to be able to grapple for 15 minutes.
Throwing karate chops and shit. I don't know why he does
the fight
that.
ended so quick that it's just like you didn't really get to see the full Kevin Holland. So I'm hesitant to lay minus 210 on him in this spot against a point fighter in Trevin Giles, who, if he's able to evade, maybe he can take over in rounds 2 and 3. I mean, DraftKings, anytime Kevin Holland's on a card, he's definitely in play. But from a betting perspective, I just think on this card, there's, you have a Luque at minus 175. I don't know if I feel the need to pay up for Kevin Holland, who is just a very a high variant type of fighter. I hope that the guy who we saw against Hernandez, he used all of his
39 seconds.
All 39 seconds, but I hope I could see 2 rounds of that.
Yeah,
if you see that, I would pay the 210. I just can't trust him to do that. He likes mixing it up. He's a real character as well. It's a pass from me at this price, but the pick is Holland.
You make a very good point. You only need to see that from him for 2 rounds, because then even if the wheels fell off in round 3, Giles' wheels are rolling down the road, bud. He just can't fight more than 10 minutes, man.
Yeah.
There is some skill there. Giles does have the type of style where hold this guy up against the cage, hustle out 2 rounds, and then protect yourself in the 3rd. But he just has the inability to do that. The guys that have been finishing, the Zach Cummins of the world, hurting him and then submitting him in that 3rd round. Did he want to weigh out? No, he was legitimately hurt by the punch. Same thing. Same guillotine choke, catches him again. But then James Krause. James Krause has fought his best fights at 155. He can fight at 170. No. He fights Trevin Giles at 185 pounds on 24 hours notice. And gave him a go, man. So where's Trevin Giles at? Now, you can actually go back to, he debuts in the UFC. He's undefeated. He's the LFA champ. He's 9-0, UFC debut. And he beats James Boknovic.
Like, the WOT.
Yeah. Probably one of the worst guys in recent...
middleweight WOT, potentially.
Yeah,
I've never done a middleweight worst fighter, but, like, Boknovic is right in the
people are like,
mix.
man, the UFC roster is watered down now. It's like, there's always been guys like that. There's just more of them now, but there's always been guys.
Of course.
Anyways, he beats James Boknovic. Then he follows that up with a not so impressive, but he gets the win, 3rd round TKO over Antonio Braganito, who now weighs 300 pounds, in case you're wondering.
A-Rap's boy.
Yeah, and was
Rappaport.
released from the UFC.
HD.
Lose to Zach Cummins, who's gatekeeper, journeyman, top 30 guy. Lose to Meerschaert, gatekeeper, journeyman, 33 years old, and then struggled on that fight to James Krause. So it's not looking good. But that all goes back to after he beat Braganito, he became a full-time police officer, and since then he's got a full-time job and a tough job, especially in today's climate. He's got a tough job, and I don't know that he's been able to dedicate that cardio and getting in the gym and going twice a day and hard sparring, and he's got a life and he's got a career and he's got a pension. I wouldn't blame the guy either. But since then, he just can't fight 3 rounds. And that's going to be bad against Kevin Holland. Now, Kevin Holland is so spotty, like you said. And I might be one of those guys that's playing a little too much on Kevin Holland. 210's a bad price tag. He should be the favorite. I'd love to pay 175, 185. But you probably end up taking the 210. The biggest takeaway I have in the Hernandez fight is not the 39-second finish. It's not anything you see beyond the bell ringing. It's that physically, he looked awesome. He's 27 years old. You get the impression that here's a guy that was tall and rangy and had no clue how to use it. He's throwing karate chops. He's looking around. His hands are always low. His cardio is not great, but he's competing. He's competing often enough. He's clearly training hard, and this is everything to him. This is his bread and butter. So one would have to believe that even if Giles is able to neutralize him a little bit in the first round, Holland eventually is going to be able to just start kicking that body, working that body, and as a result, break him down. And just like we've seen with Trevin Giles in the third round when he's barely able to be there, maybe Kevin Holland capitalizes. Again, 210, not a very good price tag, but I think that it's warranted. Kevin Holland should be the favorite.
Jonathan Martinez takes on Frankie Saenz. Jonathan Martinez is a minus 250 favorite. Saenz can be had for plus 210. I'm just going to guess, since you're our resident ageist, and I actually kind of agree with this. Frankie Saenz at that division, a little bit too old, slowing down, and I couldn't in good faith put money on him at this stage in his career. I think the wheels have fallen off. Minus 250 seems like a hefty price tag to pay for a unproven guy like Jonathan Martinez. But yeah, Frankie just looks in those the lighter weight classes, like when speed is the first thing to go. And how old is Saenz now? You probably
39.
just looked it up. I knew.
I already knew from
already
yesterday,
knew.
but yeah, 39.
39. If you're a heavyweight, that still works at
Bantamweight.
bantamweight. It's a young, fast, like 30 years old, 32 and up is like when guys start kind of petering off. So yeah, again, pick is Martinez, unless you talk me into it because you're the GOAT. I'm going to probably pass on this one too.
You know what? As of last night, I was looking at Frankie Saenz as at least a dog with a shot. You know, he's coming in with some decent dog money when you consider, I completely agree. Jonathan Martinez, 250. Jonathan Martinez has effectively beaten a very low level of competition in the UFC. And when Andre Sukhmatath and Wuji Buren are taking you down, one has to imagine that Frankie Saenz is going to take you down as well. Frankie Saenz is a superior wrestler. He's got that grindy, old man strength. If he's able to clinch up with Jonathan Martinez and secure takedowns, he does have a clear path to victory. But at 39 years old, Frankie Saenz is starting to get a little bit war torn, and I don't know that his chin's going to hold up in a firefight against this young Jonathan Martinez. Martinez comes to the UFC, and I like him as an exciting prospect, but he's never going to get to a world-class level. What I had failed to realize is even though I knew he was young, he's still only 26, and now you're seeing all these fights. He's getting comfortable. He's clearly got a striking base. That's what he likes. He likes to throw knees up the middle. He's got an excellent kick game. Frankie Saenz being that short, stocky power wrestler, when he stays on the outside and he starts to get kicked up, it's a very easy path for him. So I completely see that Jonathan Martinez just avoids those takedowns, avoids those grappling, stays up, chops away at him. But I just don't know that's going to be that easy. Saenz is going to have some advantages, probably in the first round. I think Martinez, you don't like him at 250. Maybe you sit on the first round. Let's say the first round, Frankie Saenz goes out. He gets some takedowns. He holds him down a little bit. 3 minutes of top control. Martinez gets up. Frankie Saenz evades him a little bit. Now you're looking at a minus 160, maybe a minus 150 Jonathan Martinez because he's just dropped
Maybe
around.
even a pick 'em. Sometimes they just really they overreact
course.
all the
Of
time in
course.
these live markets right now. It's crazy.
Now keep in mind,
listen to the commentary too. If you disagree with the commentary, it seems like the books are kind of going in line with the commentary and not actually what's happening in the cage.
yeah, so let's say, for example, he loses that first round, and all of a sudden Bisping and they were talking like, oh, well, you know what? Frankie Saenz is a savvy veteran, a big wrestler. He wrestled at ASU.
Martinez is getting shown what it's like to fight in the UFC.
Well, that's these young kids, man. That's why you got to round out your game. Oh, he's knocked out. You know, and that's how it happens. And so with Frankie Saenz, here was a guy that used to be a grimy, committed to the grinding style wrestler. But as he's gotten a little bit older, he's getting fatigued. And when you fight that kind of style, you have to be able to do it for 15 minutes. So remember when he fought Eddie Wineland, the first 2 rounds, he's trying to grind on Eddie Wineland. In the third round, he's exhausted. And Eddie Wineland just batters him and knocks him out. Then he takes a little bit of time off, comes back, beats Henry Briones. The Merab Dvalishvili fight he won, super impressive, especially on paper. He was taken down 11 times in that fight. So I don't know if you agree or not that he lost that. But again, that's in 2017. He's still at 36. He's still got some fight in him. 39 is a little bit harder to imagine that he's going to go out there and do something against Martinez. So I'm going to have to go the other way. And then the last thing is this fight with Marlon Veras last time out. It looked like the kicks, obviously the range, the speed, the kicks just chewed him up. And as soon as something glanced off him, he was hurt. He went down. The ref steps in, stops it. It happens quick. I could see Martinez doing the same thing. Use that flashiness, use that speed, use those kicks, and hurt this guy and put him away. So Again, I'm going to have to take another favorite here in Jonathan Martinez, but I would say, 250. I'd like to have seen
Look
him
for
fought.
it live, because this should
Look for it
probably go
live.
to
Look for it
or
live.
at least get to round one, or get to round two at least. In terms of I just wanted to talk about when I said that the commentary and some of these lines are getting out of hand in the live market. Not to pat myself on the back, because I was probably
Trinaldo after round two
plus 800.
A lot of books were offering.
I thought he won
plus,
round one, or at least it was close enough round one that
He won round one.
Two of the three judges could have done it. It was just
Lost
like
round two.
He was dead in the water. Oh, he looked so tired. Frankie Masaranduba just always kind of like after one round, he always looks tired. But he's done this a whole bunch of times where he finishes guys in round 3 or comes on strong in round 3. The old man still has some pretty good cardio for. He's stronger than your grandpa. I'll tell you that much.
Well, my thing was the first round he wins, the second round he's getting clowned on.
Yeah.
Oh no, and he looks exhausted. But the last 50 seconds, 40 seconds of the round, he caught a second win, and you knew right then. Oh, it's 1-1.
I saw 8-1 in the window, and I was just
1-1 going into the third, and he caught a second win.
Okay,
now,
let's go.
I thought he would just win the round and take a 29-20.
Yeah, I didn't think the finish was coming that fast.
Holy shit, man, he blasted.
It was a small punt, but it was a nice little chunk of change that I got. Just kept going like, wait a second. Like if he won round 1, I've seen this guy. He's fought in round 3 after looking tired in round 2 before. Like we're not dead yet.
That's
8-1 seems like he's dead in the water. He has no chance. So some of these live markets have been absurd. So keep your eye on some of these ones.
They thought Father Time was cruising to a decision victory, and Trinaldo said, "Not today."
Absolutely smashed him. Good for Grandpa. Can't wait to see him in action again and again.
Book him all the time.
He must have some like grandkids or something that they can sign, that Dana can sign to at least like a provisional contract.
If
at
he
this point.
doesn't have a grandchild, I'm sure Alex Cowboy Oliveira would offer one of his because 10 is just a crazy amount, man. My God.
Hey, he had a hell of a performance. That was the best he's looked as well.
I thought it looked like a trap line. Why is he sitting at minus 170? And it feels like Luque. He's like, am I missing something? Why is he only sitting at 170? And then come fight time, he's like, minus 135. So I was like, wow, big money coming on Sabata, which it didn't quite get. But yeah, you can't. That's the problem if you listen to 10 shows and if you communicate to 100 people on Twitter and you get all these different opinions. Use
a lot of noise.
Use all that information to form your own opinion, but it's a lot of distraction when you're like, I got this guy, and then someone you like or someone you have faith in or you respect, is just like, I think this guy's getting KO'd. It just causes you to be like,
You start second guessing yourself.
So you have to keep informed. You have to watch shows.
It's on you at the end of the day. You make the decision. You're the one who clicks the button.
And that's why I feel bad. I do read the comments, and I'll see people like, it's a good example for Volkan Uzdemir's last fight. The comment section is, you're an idiot. Why would you go against Volkan Uzdemir and Yuri Prochazka knocks him out? Literally, like the next week, I got Dan Ige. And the comment section is, I'm a fucking idiot. Calvin Kattar's going to beat him. And Calvin does. But then last week, it's the same. What do I do? Do I listen? Should I have listened on Volkan? So then last week, it's the same thing, man. There was a lot of people that were on Darren Till in the comment section. Yeah, it's a close fight. Maybe Till could have knocked him out in the first round. Maybe Till won 1-4-5. I get the arguments. But what I'm saying is, I can't. I like you guys. Yeah, I like you guys. But if I say something, I have to stick with it. Like that's my opinion. I can't allow the other things to change it. So I'm not sure how that ties into fucking Jonathan Martinez versus Frankie Saenz. But it's just one of those situations where you just do your research, you try to do the best you can, and you hope for a little bit of good bounces along the way.
100%. We've got Gerald Meerschaert taking on Ed Herman. Meerschaert minus 175. Herman plus 155. What's your take here?
Yeah. I just can't get behind Gerald Meerschaert. I can't support the old GM3. Number of reasons here. One, I've never considered him to be a trustworthy fighter. You can't look beyond the record of 31-13 to just realize here's a guy that can win, here's a guy that can lose. He wins exciting, he loses exciting. But there are a lot of holes in his game. Fighting at 185 pounds, you just don't really know what you're going to get out of him. His wrestling, just okay. But he's got good cardio. His grappling's good, very opportunistic, good submissions. If he's on top of you, you got a problem. His striking's developing. He's very hittable. But, again, willingness to throw, decent knees in the clinch.
Not so much crazy power or anything.
Yeah, doesn't have a whole lot of power and doesn't have a great chin. And you see him getting older, and you see him getting slugged out by lesser competition. And now you just get the impression that here's a fun, all-action fighter that can fight lower-end guys in the division, but that's about it. So it takes on Ian Heinisch. We're Team Pro Heinisch. It's the punch that lands from Heinisch is not a particularly debilitating blow, but it's a good punch.
I was Team Heinisch, And then my bet got canceled.
Oh, we got
and then
COVID.
I didn't
That's
re-bet
right.
it because I was
That's
just like, his
right.
corner had COVID.
That's
And then
right.
it was a false positive. So then I never got back into a bet. But I didn't, that was the first time somebody had ever been potentially removed from a card due to COVID-19. So I was like, how is he going to deal with this? I mean, he was the guy who survived in Rikers Island. So I'm sure he was able to get through it just fine. I should have thought about that at the time and remade my wager. But
No, 100%.
but yeah, we were at least on the show. We were fully on board.
But
with the,
but
the Heinisch train.
Meerschaert had shown to that point a pretty good chin. I mean, the only guy that knocked him out was Thiago Santos, and that's very forgivable. But that punch from Heinisch was almost like, oh man, overhand right, clips you on the top of the head almost. It's a good punch. He's not out of it, but he's hurt. He doesn't really know where he's at. He's down for a while. He doesn't just pop back up to his feet and protest the stoppage. It's a good enough stoppage loss. Now, he's less than 2 months removed since losing to Ian Heinisch by knockout in 1 minute and 14 seconds with the overhand right. Okay, he's 2 months, less than 2 months removed from that, and he's taking a short notice fight at 205 pounds, which is, the difference between 125 and 135, 10 pounds. Difference between 145, 155, 10 pounds. Difference between this is 20 pounds, right?
Maybe that weight cut is what he thinks is causing his inability to take damage.
I would say what's causing him to jump up to 205, because mind you, Gerald Meerschaert used to fight at welterweight. Then he filled in his frame, he moved up to 185. I think he's only 6'1", so he's not like a particularly huge middleweight by any stretch. He's jumping up at 205 because Ed Herman's supposed to fight Da Eung Jung, right? Da Eung Jung fight first time coronavirus off, second time Da Eung Jung pulls out due to an injury. So now Meerschaert, taking on short notice, doesn't have time to cut down to 185. He's just going to take it at 205. And he's a lot faster than Ed Herman. Ed Herman, 39. You want to talk about Frankie Saenz is 39. He's a beat up 39, bud.
Oh, yeah.
Wrestled collegiately, Ultimate Fighter fame, 40 fights under his belt. Again, big old journeyman record on him. You can see where Ed Herman's starting to get, a little bit slower, and he will give up some advantages to Meerschaert. But he's on a 2-fight winning streak. He does a good job of not fighting all the time, so he's not taking that damage. I think he's taking care of his body. And honestly, at 205 pounds, I could not look you in the eye and tell you that there's not at least a possibility that Ed Herman's going to clinch up with this guy, dirty box him, and hurt him.
Yeah.
And once he hurts him, Meerschaert's game of getting these guys down to the ground going to be a little harder against Herman. He's 20 pounds bigger, and he's a natural wrestler.
Yep.
Once you do get Herman to the ground, he's a black belt, and a decent black belt. So he's not a fish out of water in any one domain. But Herman at 39 can't take the best punch anymore. He used to be ironclad, but people have broke the chin since then. But Meerschaert really doesn't present that stinging KO power, especially jumping up a weight class. So anyways, all I'm saying is Herman is an absolute live dog at plus 155.
Yep.
But do you want to bet Ed Herman in 2020?
Here's my mentality about this. I think I had like basically the same mindset as you. I saw a bunch of steam coming in on Meerschaert, and I was just like, I don't know if he can really wear the damage all that much.
He's just untrustworthy.
The biggest issue is Herman training with like Sonnen and all of those guys for so many years. His wrestling's on point. Gerald Meerschaert's at his best when he's on top. I don't think he can get Ed Herman to that. 39-year-old Ed Herman. The one thing I think he can still do quite well is defend a takedown. So then if you have a sloppy stand-up affair between the two of these, maybe Meerschaert couldn't edge him out in that type of, he's a little bit, I don't know if he's longer, a little bit faster. Maybe he can do it, but do you really want to lay minus 175 and trust on a guy who doesn't really want to fight at that range to fight that way? I think the best bet in this fight is fight goes to decision plus 110. Just the fact that I know that both of these guys have reputations for not being able to take damage, but I don't think their each opponent is actually all that capable, or at least not, is not 55% of the time going to put this fight to a close. So that, I haven't made a bet on it yet, but I've been eyeing that one all week. I'm going to watch the weigh-ins, and if I lose a couple points on it, if it becomes a 50-50, we just, we accept it. But I think fight goes to decision plus 110 is my favorite play here.
Yeah. No, I actually don't mind that at all. And I would look a little bit at my over 2.5, just in the case that Herman does get tired.
And that's minus 110-ish.
Yeah, he starts getting it poured on him later on in the fight, and Meerschaert does stick around and can pour it on maybe. But again, Meerschaert jumping up to light heavyweight, it would suggest his cardio is going to be way better. But you try grappling with a big, strong guy for 10 minutes, 2 rounds, and my cardio is going to be better. Like, no, I'm zapped. Why am I so zapped? you're dealing with a much bigger guy. And if this is a grinding affair, which Herman would love to make it a grinding affair because he's just so slow on the outside. He's very lumbering and slow at this stage. His boxing's not bad. He's got okay hands, but they come at you real slow and you can kind of time him out pretty good in counter. So, I think that fight go the distance or over 2.5. And the last point is I heard a couple of people saying that they like the under on this fight for the simple reason of, dude, both these guys are starting to get finished a little bit more. Again, you look at Meerschaert, he's getting finished by Thiago Santos. And the Heinisch fight, even though I mentioned his chin might be gone a little bit, still a top guy. And Ed Herman got bum rushed by Derek Brunson, who's got absolute power in his hands. Doesn't set it up particularly well.
No,
absolute
but
power
if he lands the clean one, you're going night.
And he got kicked in the head by Nikita Krylov, who's got like a 97% finish percentage or finish ratio, right? So I don't think that he's super chinny. I don't think that Meerschaert, I'm leaning towards Meerschaert maybe chinny. But again, Ed Herman might not be the guy to expose him right away because he is so slow. He might just take the grind him down route. So over 2.5 and fight goes the distance. Not a bad look either.
We got Ray Borg taking on Nate Maness. Ray Borg minus 235 favorite. Maness is plus 195. Biggest glaring thing here. Ray Borg obviously probably should be fighting at 125 pounds. Missed weight. It's just his frame, right? He's like 5'4". Like Nate Maness, I don't have it. He's 5'9". He's got like a 9-inch reach advantage.
8, I think. But yeah, that's big. Man.
Monster. Question I have for you is, can he stop the grappling of Ray Borg? Because Ray Borg's going to be shooting for takedowns, you got to think. And shooting for him early because otherwise he's just going to be eating shots from the outside. Ray Borg's really, really fast. But 8 inches of reach against just about anybody. Like that's a massive, massive advantage. Who do you got here?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ray Borg. I got Ray Borg because I do think that he'll be successful with those takedowns. And even if he gets the takedown and Nate Maness fights his way and gets back up, it's like, that's okay. Ray Borg just needs to fight him the same way he fought Louis Smolka, the same way he fought Rogerio Bontorin. Just like get on this guy and take him down. When you take away his wrestling advantage, Ray Borg's limited, right? However, I used to think he was a very bad striker. You see the improvements he's being made. So give him Ricky Simon. He can't take down Ricky Simon. Ricky Simon's just a little too short, a little too stout, power 135 wrestler, not able to get him down. But at least his hands looked okay in that fight. I thought he's making improvements, at least in the boxing. If he can't get you to the ground, at least he's got something he can fall back on. Now he's supposed to fight Merab Dvalishvili. Oh, man, that is going to be a bad time for Ray Borg. If he thought he couldn't take down Ricky Simone, he's not taking down Merab Dvalishvili. That's going to be a problem. Pulls out, 2 days out. Personal issues. Now you go from fighting Merab Dvalishvili, the Georgian power wrestling machine, to fighting Nate Maness. That's a hell of a swing, man. Ali Abdelaziz did his job. Kid, pull out. Well, I'm not hurt. Say your feelings are hurt. You have personal reasons. Get out of the fight. We'll get you something better. Now look at the optics.
The Merab fight was like the worst matchup he could possibly have in the division.
Yeah, so now you look at the optics, and it's like, okay, we've got Nate Maness versus Ray Borg. Nate Maness is making his UFC debut. Okay. Ray Borg has 12 fights in the UFC. Ray Borg is the former UFC flyweight title challenger. He went 5 rounds with Demetrius Johnson before getting subbed. He's got big wins over top guys in the division like Yusir Formiga. He's fighting at 135 now, but he's got all that back class. And then again, I could hear the argument of, dude, he's on his way out. He's an aged veteran. He's a former title challenger, but never a champion. He's not getting back into title challenge. He's on his way out. He's 26. He's 3 years younger than Nate Maness. So it's suggesting that Borg's going to be making improvements still. Like you see in his hands, in his boxing, he's still getting better and better. Not huge between fights, but there are still being improvements being made there. Maness has got the power advantage. Maness has probably got the boxing advantage, I would say, because he's longer, he stays to the outside, and he sets up his right hand very nice. You can't sleep on this guy's power. However, Ray Borg never been knocked out. In fact, Ray Borg never really come close to being knocked out, and I know this sounds like I'm stereotyping, but Ray Borg Mexican, he has a cast iron chin, okay? Mexicans have cast iron chins. Ray Borg, the tag's Mexican devil, is in the same category. So if I'm relying on Nate Maness, well, he's just such a big power puncher, he's going to hurt Borg. Like, I don't know. I think he hits Borg, but I think Borg takes the punch, closes in, gets a hold of him. And when he gets a hold of him, just rinse and repeat with takedowns. So when we get to the DK side of things, Borg at his best can score 10 takedowns. Borg at his worst can score 6, 7 takedowns and lose. Like the Casey Kinney fight. He got like something like 58 points on a loss because he had 7 takedowns and some ground transitions and some reversals. He's a guy with his basement not bad. His ceiling, pretty high. So he's pretty versatile on DraftKings. As far as this fight goes, I can't completely write off Nathan Maness. I'm not going to put Borg on absolutely everything because he has let me down before. But I talked about Ray Borg last night on a show, and he was minus 200. This morning, he's minus 235. People are realizing it and moving in. But what I would say is that Borg is proven to be a decision machine. Why do you got to take down a guy 10 times in a fight? Because he keeps getting back up. He's not holding these guys down. He's not ground and pounding them. He never lands significant strikes, and he's not submitting them.
Borg by decision minus 110.
Right? So I think you're going to go Borg, and you're going to go Borg by decision to chase the better value on it. Nathan Maness, strong enough, tough enough, should be able to be there for at least 15 minutes, but hopefully Borg has his way with the takedowns and secures the decision victory.
Markus Maluco Perez takes on Eric Spicely. Markus Perez minus 200 favorite, plus 170 on Eric Spicely. Who's betting Eric Spicely at plus 170? Let me ask you that. Anybody?
Well, he fights hard for 5 minutes. 3.5 minutes. He goes for it hard.
I think we've
but
seen
I don't,
enough from
enough.
Maluco's grappling game. He seems to be he used to kind of come out and be a bit of a goof, but his last couple of performances, he seems to be a little bit more focused in his approach. His grappling seems strong enough to maybe avoid any sort of that Thiago Santos loss was. Oh, rest in peace to all the parlays. All the apple pies were shat on in that moment.
Yeah, I had a 5 of 6, and it's I'm already counting my money because
that's how Spicely wins. He can't
took his
really
back.
strike, right? He doesn't really have a wrestling game. He's gonna have to tie you up, grab a hold of you, and try to submit you.
Yeah, he's lost his last 4 UFC fights.
Yeah.
It's a tough task for old Eric.
So minus 200. I know Markus Perez. We don't usually pay this type of price for him. It's usually pick'ems or something or underdog type of thing, but I mean, unless you talk me out of it, I'm considering him adding him to some plays and going down this path. What's your take here?
Yeah, no. So Eric Spicely, kind of a funny story in the sport of MMA, but before he was even MMA, he was like a skateboarder. And by his own account, he'd go to the skate park and he'd get in fights with people. Then eventually starts training martial arts and had a decent little regional show career on the East Coast. Gets to the Ultimate Fighter, comes to the UFC. Never supposed to be a threat in the UFC. Never supposed to do any real noise in the UFC. But like you said, he beats Thiago Santos just to make sure, he cashes as a plus 450. It's goddamn. He follows that up being Alicio Di Chirico. Impressive enough. Again, first round triangle choke. He's opportunistic. He's got good submissions, and he needs to get on you quick and try to submit you quick. When that doesn't work, he rolls right over. His last fight against Duran Win, right? It goes the distance. But that's the first time he'd been the distance in 5 years. Typically, his fights don't get out of the first round or two. And with Duran Win's just not a finisher. He's not finishing anything. If you look at his physique, it looks like he's finishing lots of things.
Looks like he's finishing
on the plate.
Sandwiches for sure.
Yeah, but as far as the game goes, his boxing's not sharp. He's got absolutely no reach. He doesn't want to exert himself, so he doesn't throw combinations. He's not knocking out anybody, right? So at the time, because he's a big underdog and he's getting touched up by Duran Win but not going down, it's almost impressive. UFC owes him one. He lost 3 in a row in the UFC, but he won 2 regional show fights, and he was doing pro wrestling, and he was dabbling a little bit, but they needed somebody. For Duran Win, he stepped up. Now they owe him one. Well, they booked him against Brandon Allen, but he got hurt. They booked him against Puanelli Soriano. By the way, Brandon Allen, top prospect. Soriano, top prospect. Roman Kopylov for his debut, top prospect. He's actually got lucky by drawing Markus Perez. Unfortunately, Markus Perez has never been finished. And if anything, he's durable, man. You can crack this guy. You can try to submit him. He doesn't win all of his fights, but he's super durable. And I know against Wellington Turman is just a big, strong guy, bulldozed him to the ground a couple times, ended up beating Perez. Spicely, if he tries to do that same approach, big, tough guy, bulldoze him, he'll get tired after the first round. And when he fails to submit Perez, which I think he will, Perez, black belt, and Perez, cast iron chin, once he fails to put him away in the first round, Perez all day. So again, this could be another live betting opportunity, whereas if Spicely looks good in the first round, you might be able to get a good fight on Perez, but more than likely, Spicely doesn't even look good in the first round, and now it's minus 700 after the first round. So maybe you just jump on Markus Perez right now at minus 200. But his durability will win him this fight more than his outright skill will.
Timur Valiev takes on Jamal Emmers. Valiev minus 155, Emmers plus 135. I haven't done any tape on this one yet. You have any thoughts?
Speaking of tape, why don't you look at this picture right here and tell me what you see?
Oh,
that's right, baby.
It's Timur Valiev and Zabit. with the Home Alone guys.
Yeah, Joe Pesci. And
yeah.
yeah. Because, I mean, you got the tall, lanky guy with the afro and the...
So he's a little prodigy.
Yeah, I just mean he's one of these tough, battle-tested Russians. He has been upset one time as a big underdog hit, and we'll talk about the guy, Chris Gutierrez, who also happens to be on the card. But he got a rematch against Chris Gutierrez, and he won that fight as well. He's one of these stocky, like, stands in the pocket with you, aggressive, comes forward, wants to exchange, good hands. I think that he's going to be a good prospect in the UFC. He's got a lot of upside for him, and I think that Timur Valiev does have some solid upside. Jamal Emmers has got the tools to win this fight. But you can no longer trust Jamal Emmers to use his tools to win any fight because he just doesn't appear to ever do so. His fight against Giga Chikadze his last time out, he's got massive advantages in the wrestling department, and if he does get Giga down, he should be able to hold him down. He just doesn't attempt the takedowns when he should. He opts to strike against a former glory kickboxing standout in Chikadze, and as a result, he just allows himself to go down in the scorecards. I thought he won. But, I mean, that was my first shoey bet. Remember, I had Jamal Emmers to win that fight. And I was okay with doing the shoey simply because I thought this guy should have won easy. And the fact that he got robbed, but the fact that it was that close anyhow, and he fought such a bozo game plan, it was like, I just deserve to do the shoey, even if he wins the split decision.
What did I tell you before you did that? I said, friends, don't let friends bet on dudes that got knocked out by head kick against Julian Erosa.
Julian Erosa, not so bad anymore. But all the same, he had also lost to Trujillo back in the days, like 17-14 journeyman with a triangle choke. He's been finished in 4 of his last 5 fights. I think Giga Chikadze is the only guy that didn't finish him. And he was hurt in the Giga fight as well, right? So I don't know. Now here's his saving grace here, right? Jamal Emmers is a good-sized 145-pounder. In fact, he used to fight at 155 pounds a little bit here and there. He's got good wrestling and probably a wrestling advantage over Timur Valiev. His ground game, not so bad. Valiev is a natural bantamweight. He struggled to make bantamweight. He's come in at 136.5, 137. Can't quite make 135, but his last number of fights have been 135 pounds. So he's making his UFC debut now, and he's jumping up a weight class at 145 against Emmers, who's a decent-sized 45er and a decent wrestler. If I thought Emmers was smart enough to put together a game plan and stick to it, he does have the tools necessary to win this fight. I just can't get behind him anymore. So for that reason, I think Valiev stalks him, stands in the pocket, comes after him. Jamal Emmers doesn't throw enough. He tries to evade,
6-inch
doesn't shoot the
advantage for
takedowns.
Emmers.
That's what I'm saying. Is that Emmers the tools are there.
Yeah.
The physicality
He
is
just doesn't
there.
know how to use them.
If he didn't do any of that against Giga Chikadze, then yeah, maybe he learned his lesson. Then you look at his entire body of work, and it's like, no. Now he does this shit all the time. Literally all of his losses, he's winning until he just makes a mistake and makes a bad play. And it'll be the same thing here. Either Valiev catches him, or Valiev just has him moving backwards and ends up getting that split decision. But 155, and money's coming in on Emmers. 155 is like a gift of a price tag. It just looks, again, too good to be true. So what is possibly missing? Take Valiev, but do not put Valiev absolutely everywhere, just in case Emmers does actually fight up to his potential, and there's a little backdoor fuckery going on. Debuting Russians, you gotta watch the debut fight to make sure.
I would prefer that this was at Fight Island. Because he's Russian, and Russians just crushed at the island. I mean, are we going to call it the island anymore? Or Fight Island? Because, I mean, that's just Abu Dhabi. I mean, they didn't have it on the beach. Like,
it would have been hot on that beach, man.
It's true.
There would have been
and they
more
were fighting
upset.
in the middle of the night and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, or the early in the morning, however you look at it.
Yes, sir. And finally, we've got Cody Durden stepping in on short notice to take on Chris Gutierrez, who was supposed to take on cool guy, or cool hand Luke Saunders, your former boy. I think you guys have had a bit of a breakup since then.
No, I still like him.
Gutierrez minus 345, Durden plus 285. What's your thoughts on this one?
It's a big wide line for Chris Gutierrez. I think people saw those leg kicks and were like, oh man, that's so badass. Just do that every time. It's like he actually does do that every time. Just most of his opponents tend to take the kicks, right? Yeah. Vince Morales was seriously compromised very early in that fight. And we always talk about questionable ring IQ. Vince Morales has wrestling advantages, just opts not to use them. He really blew that fight for him by not throwing anything and standing right in front of Chris Gutierrez. I can't imagine other guys are going to do that. This Cody Durden guy, he seems tough. He seems scrappy. He seems like a go-getter. He seems like somebody that has spent a lot of time in the gym overcoming a lack of maybe talent. When you're not the most talented guy in the room, you got to be the most hardworking guy in the room. And it almost seems like that's Cody Durden. If you want a funny laugh, actually, you can go on YouTube, punch in Cody Durden, and just sort it by upload date. Go right to the bottom. The first 2 videos are 12 years old, and they're from him in high school. The first video is a wrestling match. He's wrestling this other guy, and he gets absolutely shit kicked. And it turns out the guy on top, Trevor Bailey, ended up winning a state title. And then died in a car accident in 2011. But he gets shit kicked in this wrestling match. And then he has like a backyard boxing match against a guy who's a nobody. And that guy also proceeds to, intentions to kick his ass. But I thought he edged him out as well. 12 years ago, he's just a kid fighting in a backyard with dreams, I guess. Finishes his high school wrestling career, decent high school wrestler, doesn't wrestle collegiately, just goes into the gym. He's at American Top Team Atlanta, so his top training partner is Diego Lima. Douglas Lima has been spending some time there. Antonio Rocco Martin, I should say, has been there. And UFC veteran Rowan Carnero, Jucao. Obviously, he's like one of the owners of the gym, I think. So he's in good company, but don't be fooled into believing he's at ATT Coconut Creek with all those guys. Durden looks like an okay prospect. I just don't think he's a great prospect. Whereas his wrestling looks okay. He wasn't a collegiate guy. He was just a standout high school guy. And now he's like, 29 years old? So a lot of time has passed since high school until now, you know? Well, how does he translate those fights into his MMA career? But he's fighting low-level guys. Well, his striking's improving, but he's fighting low-level guys. So it's hard to get a read on, like, how good will this guy actually be?
As it is with a lot of people, unless they just jump off of the page. Sometimes they do.
Yeah, and I think
like
that's
the elites,
I
but
think
like a
that's
lot
the
of
tough
times
thing.
it's just like you don't know how Roscoff looked like a guy who when he's fighting nobodies he looked amazing on tape and then he quit.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a funny thing actually about Cody Durden, right? So starts off his career, and by the way, he starts off his career he's a flyweight, right? He's fighting at 125 pounds. He loses to Jared Scoggins, who's the younger brother of yo boy Justin Scoggins, loses that fight by decision. His next fight against Ryan Hollis. Ryan Hollis has 12 wins, 13 losses. Fought Matt Schnell in his debut once upon a time. I like Ryan Hollis. He wins the first 2 rounds against Ryan Hollis, then he makes a rookie mistake and he gets caught, submitted. Since then, he's just fought fairly low-level guys, and this is just April of last year. So that's 1 year ago. He fights a boxing match and wins by decision, a kickboxing match by decision, and an MMA fight, all in the same night. Like a one-night tournament, 3 different disciplines. Badass, right? But here's the 2 things you got to account. He wins that MMA fight 31 seconds with a slam. Picks the guy up, big wrestling slams. But the guy's 0-1. Why was he even in there? The boxing match, the kickboxing match, they're nobodies. Why would any high-level athlete, high-level prospect, guy that's going to the UFC, do you think any of the other guys in this card, when they're coming up, I'm close to the UFC, would take a one-night tournament, 3 different disciplines just for shits and gigs? Like, no, he's 29 years old. If he was good, he'd be there by now. Those are just the facts. He was fighting at 125, which is a talent barren division, and 135, which they're looking for warm bodies, and yet it's taken him till 29 to get here. How do you beat Chris Gutierrez? You need to take him down. Once you take him down, you need to control him, hold him down. Don't strike with him. He doesn't have a whole lot of power, but he's sharp, he's technical, he's a good counterpuncher, and he's got those leg kicks. You need to take him down. Can Durden do that? Potentially. It's holding him down is going to be the bigger question. Because when you see Chris Gutierrez getting taken down, by the way, my boy Ronnie Barcelos, he's like a Brazilian national team member in wrestling and a high-level BJJ black belt. The other loss is, that's it. The other guy that took him down was Geraldo de Freitas, who's a BJJ black belt.
And in the UFC.
Exactly. So it's like, okay, so those guys are taking him down and holding him down.
Those are decent guys.
Yeah, but Durden's making his UFC debut. He hasn't shown an ability to hold down any guy, mid-level guy, let alone a high-level guy. In his path to victory is he needs to take him down. That's a tall task, man. 345 is a big price tag, but you do get
what if
why.
Gutierrez goes back to his by decision kind of tendencies? Minus 107 is what I see.
That's what
right
I was
now.
looking at personally. And you know what? This blew up on me last week. I was like, dude, people think Bozier's a power puncher now. He's a decision guy. No. It turns out he's a power puncher.
Yeah, I gotta.
But Gutierrez is not
Tanner
a power
Bozier,
puncher.
you have earned my respect.
Yeah,
I will
big
never
time,
say
big
you're a
time.
decision machine ever again. I've eaten shit chasing the decision prop on your fights.
betting
And props to
straight
you.
up.
That's
Yeah.
me making a bad assessment about what you can do.
You know what?
You're a
It's
finisher
possible
now.
he's the Brazilian killer because they match him up against these lumbering Brazilians.
I like
and
his
he
gimmick
puts it
and
to
the
him.
drinking. Like, do you see him open the beer with his teeth?
Yeah.
I like what he's doing there. He's giving like the Canadian lumberjacks. He kind of looks like one. He's giving us a good.
Canadian, baby.
He's given the Northern Albertans, or I don't know if he's Saskatchewan or
No, he's Alberta, yeah.
Alberta. Giving them a good, representing the brand very well. I
for
like
sure.
it.
So anyways, just to jump back to this one, not only does Chris Gutierrez have all those advantages, but he was physically getting ready to take on Luke Sanders. And Luke Sanders could do it all and has terrible ring IQ, which is why he borders being my boy, but I can't jump off my boy like that. The guy can wrestle. I have no doubt that Chris Gutierrez knows these guys don't really want to stand with me for a prolonged period of time. They're going to get me down. They're going to try to get me down. And you prepare for that, and you work on that. And all of a sudden, the Roundy Barceloses are getting you down, but all of a sudden, the Cody Durdens ain't getting you down. And when that becomes the case, Durden is no better than Vince Morales, and Vince Morales looked completely like a fish out of water. So I would say Vince Morales is a better wrestler than Cody Durden. I would say Vince Morales is a better striker than Cody Durden. I would say Vince Morales is more durable than Cody Durden. And yet, it was a blowaway. So as much as I generally try to bet on guys named Cody, time and place, man. Sorry, Cody Stamen last time out. Jimmy Rivera was just had his number, and I had to go with that. And sorry, Cody Durden this time out. I think Chris Gutierrez is the play. However, 345 is gonna make you parlay it, and don't put it everywhere, just in case. Debuting guy with some wrestling. It'd be nice to just get a little more info on him. And I'd say bet after first round. But he could look awful in the first round, and there goes your price whatsoever.
Yep.
So go by decision and just hope that the kid is better than you expect, and that better than you expect is tougher than you expected, takes the damage, goes 15, loses a decision, and you can get a little plus money on Gutierrez.
I think that all whips us right into the DraftKings segment. Producer Zach, if you don't mind bringing up the first DraftKings board there. We got Chris Gutierrez taking on Durden, who we just talked about. Most expensive guy, but we're talking about decision props and stuff. He throws a lot of leg kicks, stays busy, not a priority at the top of the mountain for me. I'm sure you kind of agree there. Let's just look at the board. We'll rip through the guys on this first. The top 5 price guys: Gutierrez, Shahbazyan, Borg, Holland, Luque.
Okay. So yeah, just ripping through it quickly. Obviously, yeah, Gutierrez is more of a decision guy. I think Durden.
He's probably the easiest guy to stay away from.
Yes, and Durden's game plan would have to likely be wrestle this guy, neutralize him, hold him up against the cage. That could slow it down. 9,200 is just too much. Edmund Shahbazyan, 9,100. Brunson will again try to do the same thing and neutralize him. However, he could ice him out in the first round, under 1.5 potentially, and get up to that 91. Although he won't be getting takedowns and all that ground transition stuff against Brunson. If he gets a quick finish, gets some strikes before that, even though he's $9,100, you still be good.
Yeah.
Ray Borg, 9,000, he's very interesting because he can go out there and get 10 takedowns against
And if
Nate
Maness is able to get it up, we could get lots of takedowns.
Yeah, I might be willing to fade Ray Borg just based on, Maness can wrestle a little bit, and maybe he's not going to be exploiting back to his feet as much, and Ray Borg doesn't throw hands at all. However, you can, if Ray Borg is on, and one has to imagine that, lost his last fight against Ricky Simone, his manager got him a great fight here that he should be on. Kevin Holland versus Trevin Giles. Trevin Giles will just look to slow down the pace. He will look to absolutely do nothing. Kevin Holland could score very little until the third round when he puts him away.
Yep.
That's going to be a tough way to earn at 8,900. But I like Luque at 8,800.
I do too.
He just throws the entire time in. Like you said, a guy that fights for it.
Average is as it says right there, 91.96 points per fight.
Yeah.
He's got a couple losses in there too. Even when he loses, he's scoring like 45, 50. He's durable. He obviously gets hit a lot, but by his mentality is, I will let you hit me a couple times to hit you twice back.
Yeah, of course. And there's guys that'll tell
hit you once to get
there's
two
guys
back.
that you'll say, geez, this guy is fighting for my money. He lands 10 punches a minute. Vincente Luque fights for your money and lands 30 punches, or no, obviously not, but he goes for it the entire time. And you got to respect that. Even if he is down, he's racking up points. Even if you're about to lose this, cash games, good way to make money, heads up games. Even if he's down 2 rounds, he's not, better lick my wounds and come back next time. If he's up 2 rounds, not, what? All I got to do is survive. No,
he's going
still
for the
going
kill.
for it. That's key to have. So at $8,800, I would definitely be looking for some Vincente Luque as far as those higher priced options.
Now let's pull up board number 2. Which is more of the mid-range. We got Joanne Calderwood, 87. Jonathan Martinez, 86. Maluco Perez, 8,500. Timur Valiev, 84. Meerschaert, and obviously all of their opponents on the other side. My general quick thought here, kind of a dead range. Want to play Maluco just in case. Eric Spicy's striking is so bad that if he kind of flails, fails on trying to wrap him up, try to turn this into a submission game, I think Maluco could just light him right up. And And then, well, I may play Ed Herman, which is terrifying, but you got to risk it for the biscuit. A lot of fighters I'm not too interested in up top there myself, though.
Yeah, I would say the second
Or
board,
in
there's a
that
lot.
range.
There's a lot more stuff appealing to me on the second board. I look at Joanne Calderwood at 8,700, and again, this is somebody that can score 100 significant strikes. It's hard to hit Caitlin Chukagian. She's super evasive. I think Calderwood has a lot of passive scoring points, and $8,700, not a bad price, and someone that could be lower on the ownership side. Jonathan Martinez, 8,600, yeah, another good play because he could theoretically knock out Frankie Saenz. 39, ring rust, hasn't fought in 14 months, and got knocked out by Chito Vera's last time out. You can definitely see a good path of victory for Jonathan Martinez. Markus Perez, you nailed it. He could knock him out. He could submit him. Spicely could just roll over after a round and a half. And that's kind of how I see him. He's got passive victory. So Markus Perez, 8,500. There's another good guy. 8,400 on Timur Valiev. The reason I'm going to bail out on that one is,
More of a
again,
decision machine.
yeah, Emmers, when Emmers is striking,
He's giving up a lot of reach and stuff like that. It could be
little bit of
waiting for his
speed.
times to get in.
yeah, and it's also his UFC debut. He has fought decent but not great levels of competition, and so I don't know. I just think that if Emmers is a little bit faster, stays on the outside, uses that reach, and then when Valiev does try to crash forward, when he does get over aggressive, maybe that's your time to shoot the takedowns. We've seen Valiev get upset as a big favorite before. Maybe not worth the $8,400 on. However, Jamal Emmers, he's got 5 pro losses, knocked out in 3 of them, hurt in that fight against Gutierrez, even though it's a decision. So again, Valiev wouldn't be a terrible pick as well. And then Meerschaert versus Ed Herman. Sadly enough, you're probably going to want some exposure on this one. However, as you and I talked about, it could be one of those just bogged down, slow, just a tiring pace where, oh, geez, both guys after 7 minutes are a little bit tired. Now they don't have the zip to hurt each other. Now they're not getting the takedowns. They're just jockeying for positioning us along the fence. It wouldn't be great. However, if you're looking for a sub $8,000 play who could potentially go out and get a finish and score high, maybe it could be Ed Herman. The flip side to that is if he does not win this fight, he will not score you lots because the volume's not there. The consistent takedowns aren't there. If he does get the guy to the ground, there's not going to be a whole lot of groundwork. Although he does have a good submission game, I would say that is a dicey one. You're probably going to want a little bit of exposure to one of the two guys. I'm going Herman. However, it could easily become one of those sloppy heavyweight type fights where both guys just tire out, and it's not the prettiest of scenes.
And then the last one, which didn't make it onto a single board, it has its own single board, was Vannata versus Green. It's 8,200 and 8,000. I may have said earlier, it's just like, I don't know if people want to play these guys on DraftKings. I look at their, in a draw, Lando Vannata had 4 takedowns, 1 knockdown. He had 85 points in a draw. So
imagine you got the win.
Add the win,
100
he's got
points.
115 points. And then Green had 51 in a
Draw.
So if he wins, he gets 80. He's at 8,000. That's not too bad. Definitely in play. I'm gonna hope that it's a little bit slower pace. I don't know if I'm gonna play them, but I haven't obviously finalized a DraftKings lineup. Maybe those guys, actually getting to those guys is probably better than dusty old Ed Herman. But Ed Herman probably
Fair.
comes with less
Absolutely
ownership,
fair.
I would imagine, as well.
Yeah, a lot less ownership. I think if you go look at the first fight, you'd want Lando Vannata. He should have won the fight 2-1. Probably should have won the fight 2-1, let's say. Or at least if he got a 10-8, the point deduction doesn't matter. But anyways, he seemed to be at least a little bit better in the first round. He got the knockdown. He got the takedowns. In this sport, that's what we're looking for, Paul. We want takedowns. Takedowns first and foremost. If the guy gets back up, take him back down. If the guy gets back up and you can't take him down, drop him. He did everything right in the first round. He scored all of those points for the most part in the first round. In the second and third round, it just wasn't quite there anymore. Bobby Green scored nothing in the first round.
I don't think I want to play
Effectively nothing.
Bobby Green at all.
He's only 8,000. And so that's the one thing that I would say, geez, Bobby Green would have scored, like you said, 80 points in the first fight, and he gave up an entire round where he scored almost nothing in the first, right? Okay, well, let's say he does fight a full 3. He's going to get me 80 points again. Could get me 80, maybe a little more. And he's only 8,000, potentially. Vannata, meanwhile, could have scored over 100. And Vannata had ways to beat him. The takedowns, he dropped him. He's got some decent power.
That's funny how...
But after seeing the Yancy Medeiros fight, him running away the whole time and not engaging, he's not going to get you those points.
So this is an exact classic example of why we separate the DraftKings discussion from the betting discussion. In the betting discussion, we were talking about close fight. Bobby Green, fought recently, looked like he had, stepped it up in terms of like activity a little bit. Clay didn't really give him any. So like we were going plus 130. If I had to bet, that's probably the side I would be on. From a DraftKings perspective, though, Lando has just got a way bigger ceiling. When he does fight, when he does win, He's landing takedowns. He's landing 100 significant strikes. Most of that is in the first round, but he ends up being a guy which is a higher ceiling. So you end up, at least how I play a lot of single entry GPP. You're looking more for a guy like Vannata. These are always, it's close razor, close fights. You're looking for, guys who can actually break that 100-point threshold. I don't think Bobby Green is really a 100-point kind of guy on DraftKings.
You know what the difference to me on this one, and this is why I'm just gonna go with my gut over my head and go with Bobby Green. There's two different versions of Lando Vannata, okay? Stay with me on this one. You got groovy Lando Vannata. Sky's the limit. Got all these skills, can wrestle, can strike, all these. And you've got Lando Vannata Acoma, which is once he left Greg Jackson's and went to Greg Jackson Acoma, Jackson Winklejohn Acoma. His fights since then, he's not the same guy. It doesn't look like he's looking to engage. Doesn't look like he wants to get hit. It's just like he's rethinking his whole, I don't want to be an all-action fighter. I've been hit. I've been hurt. I want to change it, okay? Those are two different guys. If you get Groovy Lando wins this fight. I think you're going to get Acoma Lando, and he's going to lose this fight. Now, there's two Bobby Greens, okay? There's Bobby Green training in California. This guy's on top of his game. He's got the shoulder roll. He's slick. He's got a counterboxer. And you got Bobby Green. He thinks someone's trying to murder him, sleeping on couches and not training. And you know what, Paul? Same guy. Bobby Green is a fighter. Bobby Green shows up and is the same guy every time out. And Lando is very unpredictable. A good version of him beats Bobby Green. A bad version of him does not beat Bobby Green. I'm getting the impression we're not going to see the good version of him come Saturday, but he's got every opportunity here to prove me wrong. And he's got the skills to do it. I just don't think he's going to pull the trigger on those.
And before we get out of here, why don't you hit him with the PRP?
Yeah, so we're chalk heavy, as you guys can know. And that's the good thing about 15 fights is I'm going to force a couple dogs here, which I don't want to, but you got to get a couple dogs. But at least on the 15-fight slate, you didn't quite have to as much. We got Shahbazyan, 310. He's the favorite. If you take him inside the distance, it's minus 160, better price tag. Joanne Calderwood, minus 150. I got her by decision as well. Vicente Luque, minus 175. If you take him by decision, 260 is a nice price tag. But if you're not going to take every fight by decision, at least this one seems like it's going to be fireworks. Some could go down. If you get knocked out by hammer fist from the back, Nico Price touch of death, and also they were whack ass hammer fist, man. That would have knocked out a lot of people. It is also Vicente Luque, so he can hit pretty good. I'm going to take Bobby Green. That's going to be my first underdog, and I'm likely going to take Bobby Green by decision. It's just the way he typically wins fights. Kevin Holland, he could get a finish in there. Jonathan Martinez probably gets a finish in there. I'm going to take Ed Herman. He's going to be underdog number 2. Again, it'd be nice if he just knocked out Meerschaert. But if it's a slow, bogging pace, then yeah, again, hopefully just do enough to win the decision. You can take Ray Borg by decision, minus 110, get that closer to even money. Markus Perez, again, I'm going to take him inside the distance. But truthfully, minus 200 is good enough for me. So most of my shares would be Perez. And I could see chasing the inside the distance, but I don't know if I'm personally going to be super invested in that. Valiev versus Emmers, I'm going to hit a flat pass. It'd be a good chance to take dog number 3, but I just can't get behind Emmers anymore. And listen, Russians have been how good to us. And the Russians that aren't good to us, you see a mile away, like Gazmarov Antigulov, Kadis Ibragimov, Smolyakov. You knew those guys weren't going to be good.
You knew they were frauds.
Yeah, well, at least in the case of Bragimov case, it took me a fight.
You're like, maybe he just does this to everybody. And then he took, like, the first time he had just a whiff. A whiff of someone who could take it. He crumbled.
So Valiev's not that guy, but buyers beware. I actually bet the idiot at 650 the time he lost to Chris Gutierrez, the World Series of Fighting. So he has let me down at a big price before. 155 is not a bad price tag. I'm thinking your best path there is move away, but for the sake of the PRP, it is going to be Valiev. And we're going to wrap that up with Chris Gutierrez, sorry. And again, if you're chasing additional value, you go Chris Gutierrez by decision. Try to knock that down from 345.
Yep, 11 fights. It's going to be, back to normal. Yeah. I love the 15. I think, 15 should just be, let's just load. We have so many different fighters. They're all looking for fights right now. Like, that 15 with fight after fight after fight, like, that's what an MMA card. We were kind of saying, like, 15 fights with the pacing and stuff. This is going to be like a 7-8 hour night. No. It was kind of the same. It was the same length as all of the regular cards. We just had more action. Like, that's what the fans want to see. I'm sure nobody from the UFC is listening, but, if you are, that's what your fans want. That's like everyone was just very positive about the experience of watching those 15 fights, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe I've got like rose-colored glasses from my boy Hazmat putting on on Absolute Clinic, as was.
So I agree.
predicted.
The only one thing is, if there was 4 more fights on this, we'd still be here talking, and we would have spent more hours researching it. And 15 fights breaking down on a week to week, pretty crazy. And those Bellator fights, and that went pretty smooth too, man. So sorry, Jordan Mean. But he lasted a decision.
You were on Ricky Bandejas. Is the
FICO the distance.
I bet a little bit of
small shares
Bellator.
on
I did
Ricky,
not have
yeah.
a good night.
Yeah, I had some small shares on Ricky. You know what? And I wish you could live bet Bellator, which is not the option. Like 2 minutes into that fight, he's just standing really upright with his head up. And I don't know, he rallied a little bit. He got a takedown at the end of the first round, but you knew writing was on the wall. Anyways, at least he lasted a decision. Jordan Mean lasted a decision. All was good. But just so many fights that, yeah, sometimes with 15 could get a little bit much. But I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed it because I didn't have a good read on Penny Kianzad and Betch. So I just moved clean away from that. Penny looks like $1 million, and there's a lot of people that, hey, I told you Penny looked like $1 million. That's good for you guys, man. You liked the spot. I didn't. I walked away clean. You guys made money. That's great. When it's an 11-fight spot, you end up having more shares of it than you wanted to have. Of course. Because there's just less options, right?
That's
so
why I was like, even, considering like Ed Herman on DraftKings is just like, if this is a 15-fight card, I guarantee there's another better option in those extra 4 fights. But that's just the way that these things
You know
work.
what? If it's a 15-fight option, people would message me and be like, oh, dude, I bet 10 lineups. I got Herman on one of them. When it's an 11-fight lineup, it's like, I got 65% exposure to Herman. It's like, oh, no. Right? Yeah. Like, you're forced to because I need a budget option. I don't know if we talked about who the best budget option on the card was. But if you have to save money,
you have to go down way.
Because Herman's $7,900, man. That's not exactly considered a
mid-range.
budget. Yeah, like so. At that rate, do you take a shot on a Randy Brown at 7,400, hoping that he's going to be in a war, and if he lands enough significant strikes? But we're not picking him. Yeah. Do you Bobby Green's 8,000? He's not a budget play. Do you like Trevin Giles? Nope. Do you like Frankie Saenz?
Maybe Edmund's not ready for the step up in competition. You take Derek Brunson.
Yeah. After rewatching footage today, I got a feeling that the inevitable right hand's going to collide with his head at some point.
Maybe too.
If Nathan Maness springs the upset over Borg, it's going to be low scoring. Spicely, he would score dynamite if he won, and at least he goes for it. But he's going to score real low when he loses. And 7,700 is not. It's not Fabrizio for doing $6,900. I don't really like any of the cheap.
Yeah, it's not.
No,
I don't really like any of the cheap options this week, so I'm probably.
You have to use the
I'm gonna have to be very mid range.
And that's why I told you, page 2, baby. That was the page. You're not going to be able to afford page 1 because you need to save money.
And the main event is a 3-round fight. So if you get into round 2, if Edmund doesn't get that first round finish, doesn't even get, maybe it ends up in round.
He already might not be worth it.
Yeah, he may not be able to get up there if he doesn't get the first round finish. So
who knows? Yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out. Yeah, it's gonna be tricky on a DraftKings perspective. You're gonna end up with one guy you'd real deep down do not like, but that's how the game goes.
100%. That is it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you, Cody Saftic, for breaking them fights with me as always. Thanks to Zach, who had to return to action with some technical issues and stuff. Not his technical issues, just the machinery and stuff like that. We do a lot of shows. These things kind of break down. Thank you to producer Zach stepping back up and in behind the sticks there. So for Cody and Zach, I'm Paul saying goodbye and good luck.
Mayo experience! Experience!